I have an extremely important video for you guys today. In this video, I'm going to be going over my experience being in a long-term relationship and being on SR, semen retention, versus being in the relationship and being not on SR. This is one of the most important topics, not only for the method and stuff we talk about on this channel, but for society at large. Relationships are in such disarray nowadays in 2026. Divorce rates are sky high. Singleness is sky high, hookup culture is sky high, and it keeps getting worse as time goes on in this current civilization. And what I believe to be one of the leading factors of this is the lack of men practicing semen retention within relationships. I first discovered and started doing semen retention in 2021 when I was 21 years old, and the practice amazed me. I immediately started feeling the benefits. You can go watch other videos on semen retention on this channel. I made one about the top 10 superpowers of semen retention. I started feeling these amazing benefits: drastically increased confidence, way less social anxiety, something I've been experiencing intensely my whole life, more energy, more aura, more discipline, motivation, everything. I just felt so much better. It was the fuel to support my transformation journey. It took me from the beginning, where I had no attraction for women pretty much whatsoever, could not get a date with any woman I wanted to by the end of 2023, I got into a relationship with an extremely high value woman. Now, it is much harder to do semen retention when you are in a relationship for obvious reasons. When I was single, I would have a lot of long streaks. Going over a month was very common. I had some 3-month streaks when I'd be in fight camp preparing for my MMA fights. And in general, anything less than 2 weeks was pretty uncommon for me to do during this time. Meanwhile, in my relationship now, I find it difficult to go, or I have found it difficult to go over 2 weeks since I got married and my wife and I started having sex, because we waited till marriage. She was a virgin waiting until marriage. And I can say it 100%, like I said, is way harder to do semen retention when you are in a relationship, especially if you have a hot wife or girlfriend. The temptation is always there. And in my opinion, you should be having sex even while practicing semen retention. Despite it being harder, I would say it's even more important to do SR while in a relationship than when you are single as a man, because now you have this additional factor of having a woman in your life, of which the polarity and harmony between you two is an extremely important factor to your everyday productivity, mood, happiness, drive, etc. So when that is off, it is going to have a drastically negative effect on all those things. Whereas when you're single, you just have a bit lower energy, lower drive, but you don't have this on top of the lack of energy, a negative force also adding distraction and disharmony to your life. That's why I say it's even more important to do SR when you are in a relationship than when you're out of it. Now, before I explain the even more important reason for why you need to do semen retention while in a long-term relationship, let me explain to you a story of what happened to me the past couple weeks while I was on vacation with my wife. We went on vacation. We went to Florida, coming from the Midwest where it's cold, and it was sunny, it was warm. We were feeling good. And when we got there, I was coming in on a decent streak, about a week. Right, that's decent is where that's where the streak kind of begins. That's where you kind of get out of the haze and you fully kind of feel your energy starting to come back. So that's why I say it's the start of a decent streak. You're out of what I call the chaser effect, which is the cycle of just you can't escape. You just keep doing it over and over again. After a week, it's easier to keep going versus day 1, day 2, getting to day 3 from day 2, getting to day 2 from day 1, etc. On the first 4 days of the vacation, we were having sex and I was finishing every single day. So 4 days in a row, I was on a 0-day streak going into each day. And what happened was, after the end of 4 days, things weren't really going well. Our polarity was very off. Our harmony was completely off. She was really just in a bad mood and annoyed at me. I was totally annoyed at her. And I really didn't even want to be around her at all. This is going to sound harsh or taboo to say, but at that time, I really wanted to have sex with anyone other than my wife. And like I said, I know that sounds bad to say. Well, you should be married to her. Well, that's why this video is so important. because this is a reality of our biology. This is a reality of being humans. After that point, I decided that we needed to make a strict change because I wanted to enjoy the rest of this trip. And I knew it was because of we weren't on SR. With the woman, what she always does is say, no, you're just using that as an excuse. Right? We're not doing good because of your actions, right? Outside of SR. When really, I know my actions are really fine. It's just our energy is so off, and the chemicals in our brain are causing us to not be harmonized and polarized with each other because we're in a long-term relationship and I am not on SR. So what happens? Since that day, I have been on a streak. So now I think I'm at day 12. And by the end of vacation, day 5, 6, things started getting really way better. It got better every day, but it really started getting enjoyable to the point where we were having an amazing time. And even now, like me coming home from work, the other day we were making out like teenagers in bed. And we've been dating for almost 3 years. And we were both like, wow, this is crazy what we're feeling. We feel so like we're in the honeymoon, like this rush of feel-good chemicals and dopamine and oxytocin and endorphins that we're feeling. We feel like it's back in the honeymoon stage. The only reason that we're experiencing that is because of SR. Contrast to how I felt about her after those 4 days in a row of finishing, where I was feeling very lustful, but for other women, I was thinking about other girls. I really had no arousal for her whatsoever. Now it's the opposite. Sure, yeah, other girls are beautiful, but I really have no desire or thoughts to be with anyone else besides her. She's the only one I want, and she's extremely arousing to me just walking around the house now. Even though we feel this high now, I know that if we went back to finishing every time we had sex, by the way, we had sex every single day since that point. So we were having sex. I was just doing semen retention at the same time, not finishing. I'll get more into that later or in other videos as well. Now, why is this happening? How do we explain this? Well, there is a phenomenon called the Coolidge effect. I've talked about this a little bit in some other videos, but what the Coolidge effect is basically after having sex, and it's triggered mainly by orgasm, especially in the male, a cascade of things happen in the brain that causes that male to lose interest in that female. However, it does not cause the male to lose interest in having sex with other females. They tested this on rats, where they had one male, one female rat, and after every time they did it, the time between the rat being interested in her again grew longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. However, after he would finish having sex with the female rat, if they introduced a different female, he'd be ready to go right away again with that new female. So it was not, after finishing, a repulsion to sex overall, it is a repulsion to that partner. And the reason that this exists is because of an evolutionary drive. On a biological basis, we are designed to survive and reproduce. We're not designed to be happy, have long-term spiritual connections and relationships. The way we do that is we hack our biology, because that is not the way this world was designed. That's not the way we were designed. So what happens, just like you guys have experienced, if you've ever been masturbating or you've been sleeping with a girl you didn't really care about, after you finish, you get post-nut clarity and you're kind of disgusted by what you did. You're literally repulsed by it. You want to get away. And I even feel that now after sleeping with my wife. Maybe not in the beginning of the very honeymoon stage, but once you get 2-3 years in, it definitely gets to that point where your body is going to be screaming at you to go spread your seed with someone else, because it's better for your reproductive success of your genes to spread your seed far and wide than just be with one woman. This even happens to women, but it takes a little bit longer because their brains are telling them to attach to the highest quality man they can get for around 3, 4, 5-ish years, and then to the point where the baby can now walk and run around and fend for itself rather than being totally vulnerable and useless. It needs to stay with that man so the man can protect and provide for her. But it is also in her best reproductive interest to then go on and sleep with a different man. So a lot of times, even if you are a high value man, the woman is going to have biological interest in going and finding another high value man to have a separate kid with. This is why you see a lot of people in cultures where they are just rapidly hooking up a lot, not getting relationships, have multiple baby daddies, kids with multiple dads, because their biology, or they're just following their baseline instincts, are going to tell them to do that. And I found that this effect actually has an effect on your happiness. It's hard to just ignore the craving and the feeling. It's not just a physical feeling of arousal and lust. It's almost like a psychological need. It's a psychological thing that when you're having sex and not doing SR with one woman as a high testosterone male, you're going to feel discontent with yourself and your life staying in that situation. It's not possible to be ultimately happy, I don't think, in a relationship where you're constantly releasing and not doing SR while still connecting in union through sex with a woman. I don't think having normal traditional sex where you finish every time, you can be really truly happy long-term in a monogamous relationship beyond like a 7 out of 10 happiness. I think 7 out of 10 is, I think that's at the higher end. I mean, most would probably be 4, 5, 6. You'd be fine just going through life, but you're not going to be really that happy as a man in this scenario. I know I wouldn't be. If I had to feel how I felt after those 4 days in a row every day, I wouldn't be married. I would literally get divorced. And I wouldn't have even, I knew this stuff before I got married. So I wouldn't have even gotten married if I didn't know about SR in relationships and how it can actually negate this effect and actually have the opposite effect, where that honeymoon stage feeling stays long term, years and years and years. I've talked to couples who do this stuff. I've talked to people online, couples who have been married 30, 40 years. They say they live in a state of heavenly bliss doing this style of sex where you do not orgasm. They live in a state of bliss and a honeymoon stage with their partner of decades, and they're old. They're not young and hot anymore. They're old, but they feel in a state of bliss. I don't know a single, in my personal life, I don't know a single monogamous relationship or marriage that I would want, that I feel jealous of. I don't, because at most people are a 7 out of 10 happy in their relationship. Most are far less. If they let themselves go completely and become obese and don't care about their health or fitness whatsoever, then 3 out of 10, those people are just totally miserable. This is something society needs to understand and get down. Yes, in the moment, I want to release, I want to finish, and she wants me to as well. You have to overcome that biological urge, just like with anything, if you want to have long-term success. If you want to have long-term success with fat loss, you need to not give in to that biological urge to binge foods that are not aligned with your goal. If you want to have the long-term goal of having a happy monogamous relationship and spiritual connection, when we're in these bodies that are designed for us to do the opposite of that, you need to hack your biology with your spirit. You need to not follow what your biology is telling you to do. This is so essential. If everyone on earth started practicing this, I think the divorce rate would go down drastically, so drastically. Now, it's not only SR. Like I said, people who let themselves go, they just don't have sex at all for years. The guys, I mean, the guy's probably masturbating, but they're not. He's not having the Coolidge effect with his wife, but they let themselves go. They're not even attracted to each other. They're not confident. You still need to be an evolved version of yourself. You need to be the best man you can be in addition to doing SR. But being evolved is not enough. It's enough in the beginning. You can do serial monogamy, where you have a string of short-term relationships or a string of long-term relationships back to back to back. But past year 1 or 2, you're going to start to feel unhappy and unfulfilled in those relationships. If not for SR, if SR did not exist in the relationships, the only way that I think you could really be truly happy as in a relationship, or any relationship model that you could be truly happy in as a man, is you're going to need pair bonding and you're going to need variety, because when you're constantly releasing, your body's going to be screaming at you to go get variety. Go be with other women. And the only way you can do that is like an open long-term relationship model where you have one long-term relationship or wife, and then you can see others on the side. Beyond that, and I know some guys who do that and they are genuinely happy in that, but they're in the cycle of chasing lust still too. So that has other negative effects on you as well. I don't think they're going to be spiritually as fulfilled and happy. And there's going to be a lot of other negative effects on society as well. So that relationship does work for, that man being happy in a material sense. He will feel happy in that case if he has one woman that he loves and sleeps with others. But for monogamous relationships, to be happy as a man, you need to practice SR while in the relationship. In addition, your woman is going to be much, much, much more attracted to you when you are on SR in a relationship It's absolutely insane. She notices it every time. She's like, yeah, I notice it so much when you're on a long SR streak. I feel so much more attracted to you, so much more feminine towards you. I look up to you so much more. You're so much more masculine to me. It's just the way it is, guys. Now, how do we actually practically do SR in long-term relationships when it's difficult? First, you need to train yourself to actually last longer. How we're going to do this is pelvic floor relaxation and stretching, breathing techniques, and then actual technique of how to actually use your body and thrust during sex to not trigger ejaculation. Ejaculation is triggered by the clenching when you squeeze down there and you Kegel. That aids ejaculation. So you don't want to Kegel. A lot of people say that. No, that is totally wrong. You actually want to reverse Kegel or start to relax your pelvic floor, stretch it, do reverse Kegels. In addition, when you're actually having sex, you don't want to use your abs to like thrust up with your core because that's connected to your pelvic floor and it's going to cause the pelvic floor to tighten as well. What you want to do is actively squeeze your glutes. Just isolate your glute muscle and squeeze that when you want to thrust while you're making love or having sex. In addition, you guys need to do PE. It is way easier to have the style of sex where you don't finish and it's very satisfying and you can go slower and enjoy the moment when you are bigger down there. PE, aka penis enlargement. It works. Go watch my other videos on that in the sexual mastery playlist. Not going to get more into it. The bigger you are, the slower you can go, the more you're both going to feel. When you're average or you're small, you have to thrust vigorously to get any stimulation whatsoever, and it's going to cause you to have to be more lustful and not, and it's going to cause you it's going to be hard to do SR straight up. Another thing you need to do is be conscious of the chaser effect. The chaser effect is a cycle you get in when you are releasing to keep releasing. So that's why I did it 4 days in a row, because I was in the chaser effect. To get out of this, what I do is I set 5-minute timers. Before I go in and we start having sex, I set a 5-minute timer, and it's a hard timer that we stop at the end of 5 minutes. It's enough, guys. If you do PE, if you have a good technique, if you can last, you have good stamina, you can make her finish within 5 minutes if she's warmed up. All right, when I do this, she can finish 3-4 times within 5 minutes vaginally. That's because of doing the things in the method. So go watch our Masterclass, Pillar 3, Sexual Mastery Method, the Sexual Mastery playlist. Everything can be found in those videos. Very essential. Speaking of her finishing, I think there is some negative effects to her finishing clitorally in terms of her dopamine and a little bit how she feels towards you. But my experience so far, the more vaginal orgasm she has, the better. So keep that in mind as well, guys. I think the ideal situation is her having as many as you can give her while you not finishing. When you set a 5-minute timer, it's okay. At the beginning, you need to be strict with it. Don't go past it. You're not, she hasn't finished yet. Don't go past it. It'll still be nice. You're going to feel like, oh, I want to keep going. And so will she. But after like 5-10 minutes, you guys let the engines cool off a little bit. You're going to actually feel amazing because you're going to have all this charged up sexual energy that is now very high instead of normally after sex when it's depleted and you guys feel unpolarized and you're kind of repulsed by her. You feel still very magnetized and attracted to each other. And it lasts all throughout the day and in life, and it builds up as the days and weeks go on in your SR streak, guys. So this is extremely important. Extremely, extremely important. I cannot stress this enough. If you guys are in relationships right now, try it. Set 5-minute timers. If you can't last 5 minutes, just set a timer for however you can last. Like if you only last 3 minutes, set a 2-minute timer. And just do that and explain to her, if she's not happy with that idea, just explain to her that this is what you're doing. And just to have her trust you because it's going to make the relationship better. Even if she doesn't see it now, just trust you. See how you feel after a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks on SR in your long-term relationship. The longer the relationship is, the more necessary it is because the more your body is going to be telling you to leave your partner and go find someone else after sex due to the Coolidge effect. Hope you guys understood this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any experience of SR in relationships or you have any other questions. I will answer them in the comments below. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. And as always, subscribe for truth. Peace.